You have to understand this. Boxing's like this game of life. I got beaten by Buster, right?
Is this the end of influencer boxing? Does Jake continue? You know, he's got I guess, looks like a particularly bad injury. Both sides of his jaw broken.
That's why when he fought Anthony Joshua, I scoffed at it. I talked a little bit of because of the lunacy. And I said, someone's going to end up dead. Someone can die.
All right, so get this. 13 professional boxers actually die every single year from injuries in the ring, which is absolutely sobering when you stop and think about it. Mike Tyson had an incredibly strong reaction after watching Jake Paul get knocked out by Anthony Joshua. And I'm talking a serious no-nonsense warning here. Tyson came out and basically told Jake that he needs to step away from boxing right now, emphasizing that Jake is literally putting his life in danger by continuing to face these elite-level fighters. And Mike's not being dramatic here. He's seen the sport from every angle possible. He stresses that boxing is completely unforgiving. Like there's zero room for error when you're in there with world-class opponents. And he genuinely believes it's only a matter of time before Jake gets badly hurt if he doesn't retire and stop chasing these incredibly high-risk matchups. Tyson's not saying this to be mean or dismissive. He's saying it because he understands the brutal reality of what happens when mismatches occur at the highest level of
injury. You have this issue now where he's got to recover, and honestly, coming from broken jaw, two sides of broken jaw is even worse because you got to test it out. It's, you know, you're not just chewing food or talking. You know, your jaw has to heal enough to take impact, to spar, to you know, be able to actually box and not just everyday life's usage of your jaw, like I said, to just chew and talk. But so I don't know. That's why I was thinking, like, is this going to be the end of Jake, or because even if he comes back as a boxer, it'll probably could take a year, to be honest. You know, does he focus on his promotional company? I was thinking, you know, the promotional company is probably one thing that I could always ride with. I never had criticism for it. Jake's promotional company, MVP, I think he's doing a lot of good things with his fighters, taking care of them, which is personally what I like. If fighters earn their money, and they should be compensated for it the right way, and a lot of promoters don't do that. But Jake has signed a lot of good fighters and compensates them very well, giving them opportunities and so on. So especially the women, but not just the women. A buddy of mine, Lucas Body's also signed with MVP. He's done well over there. So, you know, I do like the promotional company. Will this maybe give Jake a chance to sort of double down on the promotional company, being that he's not going to be fighting, and put even more effort into the promotional company, and I don't know, just you know, make this MVP platform an even bigger deal. You know, I don't know.
Jake Paul has reportedly suffered what's being described as a severe jaw injury following his knockout loss, and the evidence circulating online is honestly hard to watch. There are videos making the rounds that show him genuinely struggling to open his mouth properly. And you can see it's not just uncomfortable, it's clearly causing him real pain. In one clip that he shared himself, you can visibly see that speaking is painful for him. Like every word takes effort, which really highlights just how serious the damage actually is. Fans and analysts who've been watching this unfold are pointing out that this kind of injury really underscores the massive risks Jake took by stepping up to fight an elite heavyweight like Anthony Joshua. This isn't just a bruised ego or a black eye we're talking about. This is the kind of injury that changes your perspective on the sport entirely. It's reinforcing all those warnings from figures like Mike Tyson, who've been saying that continuing down this path could lead to even more serious, potentially permanent harm.
It's not a game. Fighting is not something you pick up and mess around with, right? If you're a fighter, if you're a boxer, if you're a mixed martial artist, right, you have to take this seriously and you have to respect the game. That's why when he fought Anthony Joshua, I scoffed at it. I talked a little bit of because of the lunacy. And I said, someone's going to end up dead. Someone can die. 10 to 13 boxers die per year. It is not a game. Now, of course, the man wants to make money and he wants to box people and he wants to entertain his fans and thrill audiences. And that's great. And God bless him. Fair play to him. The man is very, very successful. I've never talked about that. I've only talked about a 58-year-old Mike Tyson or fighting retired, semi-retired UFC legends and then talking about them, right? All I've ever said is box someone your own age and size. And then this thing with Anthony Joshua, I was like, this is crazy. Now let's talk about the actual fight for a second. It happened in the 6th round, and it happened in a 22-foot ring. A typical ring is 20 foot. This one was 22 foot because he wanted a bigger room to operate, a bigger space, a bigger ring, somewhere to run away and be on his bike and stay away from Anthony Joshua. Now, I don't blame the guy. I'd have done the same thing, right? Because Anthony Joshua is gigantic and has the kind of power that could potentially do that to you, right? Maybe it's real, maybe it's AI, right? Either way, his face is going to be swollen today. That's a fact, right? The bigger ring gives you more space. Jake Paul did about 5 miles of road work, shot about 25 double leg takedowns because he didn't want to stand there and go toe to toe with him like Francis Ngannou did, because he knows what would have happened, okay? And ultimately, it ended up happening anyway in the 6th round. And yeah, okay, he's going to have the street cred of standing there and say, I went 6 rounds with just...
Paulie Malignaggi, who knows a thing or two about recovering from boxing injuries, breaks down Jake Paul's situation in detail, and his analysis is pretty eye-opening. He emphasizes that the long recovery required for this kind of injury is no joke whatsoever. A broken jaw on both sides. And that's what we're reportedly dealing with here is far more severe than people might realize from everyday experience. This isn't like breaking your arm where you can sort of function around it. The jaw must heal fully and completely before it can withstand the kind of impacts, intense sparring sessions, and actual competitive boxing that Jake would need to return to the sport. Paulie suggests this could realistically sideline Jake for a full year, maybe even longer depending on how the healing process goes, which raises some really interesting questions about whether he'll continue pursuing boxing as an actual fighter or shift his focus primarily to his promotional company instead. Speaking of which, Paulie actually praises Jake's MVP promotional company pretty highly, noting that it's legitimately supporting fighters properly and compensating them fairly, which is honestly refreshing in a sport that's notorious for shady promoter practices. He highlights that Jake has signed some genuinely talented fighters and is running the promotion responsibly and professionally, giving fighters opportunities they might not get elsewhere. This promotional work could very well become Jake's primary focus while he's recovering from this serious injury. And honestly, that might be the smartest move for everyone involved.
Couldn't have done any more. When you get in the ring with somebody that is constantly trying to just survive and run, you can't do anything about it. Our sport is built up of journeymen, like what Jake Paul did. He's trying to survive, he's not trying to engage. And so therefore, it's your job to cut him down and catch up to him. I think Anthony Joshua it was basically open to a lot of criticism because this guy didn't come to engage. If he came to engage, then it would have been a completely different story. And I understand the frustration of the general public when they're saying they should knock him out in 1 to 2 rounds. I get that because Jake Paul has been brilliant at annoying and getting under the skin of everybody, which you really in our sport, if you can evoke emotion from the fans, you're doing a great job. So what Jake Paul did was got in the ring. I think he realised the task in hand when he stood there in that 22-foot ring. He sees an Adonis of a fighter, former world champion, Anthony Joshua in another corner, and that's when reality hit fiction. Everything he had in his head, everything he thought that he could possibly do, had disappeared, slipped out the ring with the cornermen, slipped out the ring, and he thought, wow, this is for real. And even a little jab that just gently missed him, you could see him thinking, what is this about? So it was a case of survival. And to me, I didn't want Anthony Joshua to knock him out, if I'm honest with you. I thought, you've got to make this kid have a reality check. And that's what he actually did, because Jake Paul himself said, I was shattered. You know, this guy, everything I thought I could do, I couldn't do. Boxing looks so easy on the TV. Boxing looks so, matter of fact, no big deal. Until you get punched, and then reality kicks in. And Jake Paul, he has done a brilliant job of promoting himself, promoting this fight, promoting the evoking human emotion. And I think he'd be a great promoter down the line because, on the undercard, you had Caroline de Barbox on the undercard. You had all these amazing fights on the undercard.
Michael Bisping, who's experienced his own share of brutal injuries in combat sports, highlights something really important that often gets lost in the spectacle and entertainment of these events. The inherent dangers that come with combat sports are absolutely real and can't be ignored. He makes it crystal clear that boxing is far from a game or some kind of performance art. Bisping notes this genuinely shocking statistic that between 10 to 13 professional boxers die each year due to injuries sustained in the ring. And when you hear that number, it really puts everything into perspective about the real-life risks involved here. We're not talking about hypothetical danger or worst-case scenarios. These are actual fatalities that happen with disturbing regularity in the sport. Bisping specifically criticizes Jake Paul for stepping far outside his natural weight class purely for financial gain, which creates these dangerous mismatches that might draw massive attention and generate headlines, but they also expose him to extreme danger that goes beyond what any amount of money should be worth. Bisping stresses that boxing absolutely must be handled professionally with proper training that takes years to develop, thorough preparation for each specific opponent, and genuine respect for the sport and what it can do to you. He's warning that ignoring these fundamental principles can have severe life-altering consequences that no amount of social media followers or pay-per-view buys can undo.
Me is, oh, but Jake Paul made a lot of money. Who cares? Money is a tool. Money is good. If you can get it, get it. Hustle. But here's the thing. If someone offers you $100 million, but then if you took the $100 million, you have to pass away, they're gonna take your life in 2 weeks. I mean, would you take that? So you get a lot of money and then you only have 2 weeks with the money. Like that, to me, that's stupid. So money is cool, but there's billionaires and millionaires that have lost their life. I'm sure they had terminal illnesses or whatnot. I'm sure they would give up a lot of their wealth or large portions of their wealth for their health. That's why people say health is wealth. So I'm not impressed by money. And it's so funny that you have these MAGA influencers that just lost back-to-back, Jake Paul and Andrew Tate, and their fan bases who pitch this far right and pitch this like red pill philosophies, alpha male philosophies, and like having affirmations and daily tenets and goal setting and being a real man and the difference between man and woman, all these things that these bases have.
Similarly, Johnny Nelson brings up another angle that's worth considering, pointing out that while Jake Paul has absolutely proven himself to be an exceptional promoter who knows how to work the system, this promotional success came at a serious personal cost that shouldn't be overlooked. Nelson genuinely praises Jake's ability to engage massive audiences and make headlines in ways that even veteran fighters struggle to achieve. Like, the guy understands modern media and attention in a way that's honestly impressive from a business standpoint. But here's where Nelson's perspective gets important. He also emphasizes that putting one's actual life on the line for entertainment value is not something that should be commended or celebrated, no matter very much money it generates. Nelson frames Jake's recent loss to Anthony Joshua as a major reality check, not just for Jake himself, but for all the aspiring fighters and influencers out there who might be watching and thinking they can do the same thing. His point is that promotional success and the ability to generate buzz absolutely cannot compensate for the very real dangers of facing professional-level opponents when you're not fully prepared or experienced enough.
It shocked me, but it kind of disappointed me. Whereas I didn't expect Jake Paul to go in there and just recklessly go forward and try to mix it up with Anthony Joshua. That would be like immediate suicide. That would be like running into a jet plane propeller on purpose. But there's a fine line between being defensive minded and using your ability to move and your speed and things like that, than like literally fleeing and just running around the ring like you're in a cartoon. And that's what he basically resorted to for the first 4 rounds. I mean, I guess it was effective because he stayed upright, other than when he was flopping down on the canvas. But no, nothing really surprised me. Jake got the knockout that everybody expected, and it was a pretty impressive knockout when he finally got it. It just took him longer than it probably should have to get there.
Why do you think it took him so long? It seemed at times that he wasn't throwing his right hand as much. Was it just the fact, like you said, Jake was on the back foot, it was difficult to pin him down, or do you think Joshua should have and could have finished this way earlier?
I mean, he probably could have finished it a little bit earlier. I mean, I'm willing to cut him a little bit of slack because we look at it from the standpoint of, okay, he's a physically much more imposing figure, a much better fighter, a much heavier puncher, a much more experienced fighter. This is an Olympic gold medal winner. He's a 2-time unified heavyweight champion going up against what is basically still a novice professional in Jake Paul, who, by the way, is fighting generally in the 200-pound weight class, and Anthony Joshua was a chiseled 250 in most of his fights or thereabouts. So from that standpoint, he had all the physical advantages as well as all the experience and skills advantages. So why couldn't he do it earlier? Because it's hard to catch up with a guy when he's just going to run around and never try to even.
You know, on the flip side to it, everyone's laughing at Jake Paul when Jake Paul's laughing at everybody else. You know, everyone's making fun of him. He's laughing at us, not we're laughing at him. You know, he's laughed himself to the bank. Even before that fight, you know, he's an unbelievable businessman, which is exactly what he is. To do what he's done, drag Mike Tyson into the ring, drag Anthony Joshua into the ring, get Netflix to do what he's done with women's boxing. Laugh at him all you want, mate. He's absolutely, you know, like I say, I'm going to use the word the businessman. He's unbelievable at what he's doing. As a fighter, as a boxer, as a professional boxer, he's poor. And I mean this with the greatest respect. Like, you know, he's come off the couch watching YouTube, doing YouTube and influencing people to get Anthony Joshua in the ring. Should Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua ever be in the ring together? No, should they fuck? But the business side to it, they fucking walked away with millions. The fight was poor. Jake was just in there to survive. Yeah, there's just loads. We can keep going on and on about it. Was it a success? Probably. The boat walked away with millions. But for Jake to get Joshua in the ring there, you can say all you want, but I think personally, if that fight fell on Tyson Fury's lap first, he would have took it. You know, which heavyweight's going to say, yeah, it is. Just let's say, an example, 50 million to fight Jake Paul. You know, they're going to say no. I don't think one heavyweight in world boxing would have said no, barring Alexander Usyk.
No, definitely as well. Final one.